hope it is as beautiful of a late day wherever you're at as it is where I'm at, especially after yesterday we had freezing rain and didn't snow, but it was close to it. And move that a little bit more. There we go. I am in Loveland, Colorado at my office location, which is a huge area that I believe strongly in, that is going to become a major business opportunity, which is to have sharing offices. And by this time of the day, usually most of the people here have left. And so me and maybe 10 other people, and sometimes there's as many as 200 people here. And my little office area that I have is back in a very cool location with a deck back behind me here that I can go out to, and it's actually a beautiful day. I could go out there right now, but I'm going to stay inside here. And actually, it didn't get that warm today, so I'm still dressed a little bit like I'm in for a little more cold weather. We do have about a minute before we'll start recording. Thanks for all of you that have shown up here for this webinar. This is not so much of a teaching webinar at all. This is a discussion webinar about our newest venture, Environmental Professionals Network. And I'll talk a little bit about the broad base of what that's intended to be, but more, we're going to actually talk about a bunch of projects today. And I actually have at least one of my staff members that's on here, Erin. And I think she won't mind. At some point, I might ask her if she'd like to be unmuted, because we had about 60 projects that we specifically looked at over the last week that were federal and state and quasi-governmental agencies that are below the state level, county, city, so on. And we're going to talk about those. So it is now the middle of the hour. And Mark, why don't you go ahead and start recording? All right. Hey, everybody. Again, we do record all of these, and all of these sessions, all of them, are on the EPN free site, EPN free member site. And all of you, by coming to this webinar, will become members of that. And every one of these that we've done, I think this is number 7 or 8. Is that right, Mark? It's in that range. Are recorded, and they're posted there, and they will be for as long as we're around. And we're also populating more and more information as time goes on in the associates member site and the advisors member site. And again, we're going to talk about projects today. Over the last week, we have reviewed, my staff and I, so 4 of us, have reviewed 60 different projects that are governmental, not private, but governmental projects. And we've come to the conclusion that probably, what would you say, Aaron? Maybe type it in, or we can unmute you and you can even talk. But probably 2/3 of them were ones that we decided didn't make sense to take the time right now for the little team that we have. And we're trying to get all the rest of you to want to be on that team also to help with this. But that we have our little team of really 4 right now, that we decided we could get good proposals written, submitted by the dates that the submittals are due, and have a reasonable chance to win the projects. And I'm going to show you what some of those are. And then the other 2/3, so probably about 40 out of the 60, we decided didn't make sense to go ahead and do proposals for, mainly because we just probably don't have the staff and don't have the team yet to do what's needed to get them done right, get them done well. So that's what we're going to spend most of our time today talking about. Any and all of you that want to be unmuted, there's a little hand sign over on your bar that you can see, your sidebar. And if you just put that up, or if you put into the question box, yeah, please unmute me. We'd love to have you do that, and love to be able to have you talk with us. This is not a lecture in any way, like all the rest of our webinars are. This is really a discussion time, and I already see people here that I know are ones that have expressed interest in potentially becoming active with this. Jeffrey Potent's out there, Alan Booker's out there, as I mentioned. One of my staff members, Aaron, is out there. Craig is out there, and he's shown a lot of interest. So, and then a bunch of others of you. So anyway, I'm going to real quickly, we're going to do this fast, and I'm going to have Mark scroll. If you would, Mark, this is the home page for the epncommunity.com. And we also have our page that we've had for 7 years now, which is environmentalprofessionalsnetwork.com. And you're actually seeing the blog of the, now we're on that site. And this is the blog for that, and Mark's showing that right now. Some of these blog articles, by the way, if you do a search like vertical farming, if you did a search of vertical farming on Google, you'd find that we probably have one or more blog articles that are on the first page of Google. And that means that we're getting attention. People are looking at this. That's really important to us. So this site, the environmentalprofessionalsnetwork.com site, is primarily a lead-in site. It's a way that we would attract people to potentially want to either provide projects for us or to become members themselves and to be part of project teams. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and go back to the EPN community site. And this is, again, the site that you would all be able to go to. And Mark, because he's a staff member, is actually a member of all the different membership types that we have. So if you click on my library there, Mark, you'll see that he is a member of all the different 6 different membership types that we have. And he's actually going down the main page now. But he actually has membership in EPN Free, Associate, Advisor. So let's stop right there for a second, Mark. The intent is that there will be about 100 advisor members. Long term, those advisor members will be the leadership for EPN. At least for the first year or so, John Nillen and I don't know if John's on here tonight. I'm going to look through the attendees list real quick. John's daughter just finished playing in the NCAA soccer tournament in North Carolina, and her team, the University of Denver, made it to the second round, and they lost to the second seed, which is the University of North Carolina, in the second round. And so he was in North Carolina all last week, and now he's come back. And I don't know that he's getting on today or not, just because he's been just buried with things. But anyway, John and I, who are the 2 original founders of EPN, are going to select the advisor members. And honestly, we're going to seek guidance from a number of you that are out there to also help us with that. And some of you might become those advisory members. The advisory members are intended to be people that are wanting to be very active with EPN. And active means either looking for projects, helping find projects. So, identifying them, writing proposals for them, or 3, being actively involved in conducting them, so doing the work on them. And then actually 4, would be, to a certain extent, would be to recruit, also to be finding other members. As advisor members, excuse me, there are profit motives to do all those things, all four of those things. And they're pretty strong, they're pretty large. And then the same thing for associate members. Associate members will be the primary membership group. Those will be the various different ecological and environmental scientists around the world that will become members. And they will be really the foundation, backbone of EPN. And they'll be the ones that will be doing all those four things that I described before, but will be really the ones conducting projects and the ones taking advantage of the whole concept of EPN, which is a sharing economy concept. And that is that you don't have to have companies with tens of thousands of employees with huge brick and mortar offices all over the country, fleets of vehicles, millions, if not, or not tens of millions of dollars of equipment, as those large companies do, to be competitive and to get projects that will be ecological or environmental. I almost said ecolonomic. They are ecolonomic also, making the planet better. But that's the whole idea for EPN. And a little history again, and I'm not going to repeat a lot of this because I've talked about it before, but is that this was an original concept of mine back in 1994 when I was in a transition between having a very large environmental consulting company that I founded and that I took public 10 years earlier in 1984. And I had become disenchanted with that big company, which when I took it public was about 1,000 employees, because we'd already started to take on this big company mentality. And we were losing sort of the mentality that we had from when I founded it in 1978 to when we went public in 1984, so only 6 years later, which was two things. Serve customers really, really well. Don't let environmental issues be mysteries for the clients, and don't take advantage of them because they are mysteries in many cases. And second, make it an amazing place for environmental scientists to work. And to think about themselves as really having individual impact on whatever they're working on and not just be an employee of a very large company. And ATC is that company, and it's out there today, and it's a very large company, 10,000 plus employees today. And I would not be proud today, I don't think, of being the guy that runs that company, even though that's the company I founded, just because it's so different. It's not what I really wanted to see happen. So again, I had left that in 1984, and for about, 85, for the next probably 3 or 4 years, I formed another environmental company that was called HasTalks. Small, only had offices in Boise, Idaho, and in Seattle, Washington. We ultimately eventually had offices in several other Western cities. We did a lot of asbestos work. That was a huge issue at that time. We actually, I think, became one of the top asbestos consulting and laboratory companies in the United States. And we had merged with several other companies by that time in the late 80s. And we had also formed an insurance company called the IRG Group, the Environmental Risk Insurance Company, because we were finding that we couldn't solve all the environmental issues out there by just doing what we call work in the ground, digging holes and taking water samples and cleaning up water and doing that. We had to also deal with financial issues. And so we formed the Environmental Risk Insurance Company to provide a variety of different kinds of insurance for property owners, for environmental consultants, and a variety of other folks who would get value, banks, lenders, and so on. And that actually became a real focus of mine in the late 80s and into the 90s. And in 1993, late 1993, we sold that company, the IRG Group, to Zurich, which was what was then and is now one of the largest insurers in the world. And I was kind of in a transition point in my life. I didn't know what I was going to be doing moving forward. Didn't actually have to do a whole lot. I had done pretty well financially from what we did with ATC and then with the ERIC group. And I formed the Environmental Professionals Network. I really back then believed that this would be the way that environmental consulting and advising and abatement and remediation and all those sorts of things should be done. As it turned out, I went out and bought a couple of assets that were contaminated during that early 1994 timeframe. I bought a strip mall in Boulder, Colorado, and I bought another small industrial operation in Boulder. And I got contacted by a guy named Tom Darden, who I just got off the phone with. I actually cut our call a little short to do this webinar, knowing that I would be doing it. And Tom had founded a similar kind of company in Raleigh, North Carolina, that he called Cherokee. And there's a long history behind that name. But and bottom line is, this was mid 1994. Before the end of 94, we had decided to work together, and we had brought on a couple of other people. And between 1994 and 2006, we essentially were buying environmentally impaired real estate all over the world. And we did it through that company, Cherokee. And then eventually I formed another company called International Risk Group. And we also did acquisition of properties through that entity. Well, I reached the point in the early 2000s where, as an entrepreneur, I was getting a little bored of that. And in 2006, I took essentially my leave from those two entities, IRG and Cherokee, and moved up here to Northern Colorado and started doing things in the much more ecologically motivated areas. Bought a herd of alpacas, started doing aquaculture, started doing all those sorts of things that I had a passion for. And in 2013, several of my employees at IRG and Cherokee had also sort of had it with doing that. And then they came and we decided to rebirth EPN, and we did a lot more legal work associated with it, put together a lot of documents, but we didn't kick it off. And it ended up, we put the website that you just saw earlier together that Mark showed you, but it didn't kick off again. We left it in the back burner. And now it really is kicking off. And I wish that we would have done it when I first thought of it in 1994. I wished we would have done it in 2013, but hindsight's 2020, or it isn't 2020, as they say, and we didn't do it. So now we're doing it today. And I've succeeded in a bunch of businesses, and I've failed in a bunch of businesses, and I hope this is one that we succeed in, but time will tell. And this will be one to where, if we do succeed, it isn't going to be mainly because of me. It's going to be because of a lot of you, because this is going to take a team effort. And Mark is now showing what you would have if you were, why don't you go to the associates site, Mark, rather than advisor. That's by the way, one of Aaron, who's on here, tells me that thing's kind of obnoxious, that every time you go up to the button bar, that's something we'll get rid of. So Mark's going to open up his associate membership here. And notice that came up again because he clicked up there at the top. I agree, Mark, that is obnoxious. We're going to stop that from being up there. So, yes. Okay. Awesome. Sierra, jump in anytime you'd like, especially when we get to starting to talk about these projects. So There's a bunch of other stuff on here, but we're mainly going to talk today about projects. And so click on the possible available governmental projects tab, Mark. So we've embedded a spreadsheet here that is literally daily revised, and it lists, I think there's, as of yesterday, there were 230 projects on here, and they are sorted by the date that the proposal is due for them. So notice, see these that Mark's on right now, it says 5/4. Obviously, we're not going to get proposals submitted for those. So those after today, those projects from 5/4 will go over onto the next page. Click on the expired bids page real quick, Mark, just to show everybody, because this is up. This has been, no, Mark, it's down there. It's right there by, no, you don't need to go up there. Don't go there, Mark. It's right down there at the bottom. It's right at the bottom of this. Now you're going to have to show more of the page. Show more. There we go. Keep going. Keep scrolling down. There we go. Yep. Click there. So these will show projects that we just didn't get bids submitted on and they've closed. And I don't know how many there are on this, Mark. Go scroll down. Let's just see. Scroll to the bottom. There's probably up to 100 projects on here now, which just shows how much there is out there. Everybody, there is so much environmental and ecological work that's out and available. And that's all one project that's just being described there. That's why it's a very long cell. I don't know what that one was, but there's a lot there. Wow, there's a lot there on that project. But that's expired now, so we can't go after that. Anyway, we don't need to, I just wanted to point this out to you so you guys can look at that. But back on projects to bid. Now scroll to the bottom of this, Mark, because that's going to be the more relevant. So if you notice the dates that are up on the second column here, by the way, you can't, at least we haven't figured out yet how to get the heading to stay here as we would on a Google Sheet. So this is done on a Google Sheet. Why don't you open up that Google Sheet also, Mark, and let's show that to everybody so they can see where this comes from. It's easier if you do these openings rather than me, because then I can keep thinking about it and talking. Is there any questions or comments from anybody yet, though? I'm going to go to there real quick while you open up that other tab. Oh, Aaron says she could be unmuted, Mark. So when you get done with this, go ahead and unmute Aaron. Probably can unmute Sierra also. Okay. Sierra, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
All right, cool.
Hello.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? So Mark's doing, so just Mark, pull up the actual sheet, because it'll be easier for us to look at. We're going to put the link to that on that associates and the advisors page also. So you'll actually be able to look at it two different ways, not just through what's on the site. Yeah, open that one. So as I mentioned, about a week ago, it was actually even less than that, I asked Sierra, who is one of my senior staff person, and when I say my little environmental company, who is one of the founding members, advisor member of EPN, is called SEED, Center for Economic Excellence and Development. And I have a staff of 4 people, and 2 of them are here on the call today. Sierra is one, Aaron is another, and Emily is a 3rd, and John Yellen is a 4th. And they are involved in more project work than they have enough hours in the day to do. So it's not that we need a lot more project work right now, but a lot of people in the environmental sciences do need more project work. they don't ever get enough work. And most people go into the field of being environmental scientists. And by the way, that's a wide variety of different kinds of folks, because they don't want to sell. They're not salespeople. They don't want to market. And that's probably one of the primary goals that we intend to have EPN provide, which is sales and marketing for those small firms. Anyway, I asked my staff to do a little project, and I'm going to let Sierra maybe narrate it a little bit here, because she actually put all the info into a Google Drive document file that we have. And what I asked is for her and Aaron and Emily to take, I didn't give a specific number, but I think Sierra said they chose 60 projects, all which had the due dates that were the farthest out. So Mark, again, scroll down here to ones that are the farthest out in time. It'd be easier, faster if you go over and pull it from your bar over there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right there. Pull that down. So they ended up, I didn't tell them a number, but they picked 60, and Sierra took 20 of them, Aaron took 20, and Emily took 20. And they reviewed them to determine whether they thought it made sense for us to do proposals for them, us being EPN. And as I said, they each chose about a third of the total that they had, so something like 6 or 7 each. And there's some documents, and Sierra's going to tell Mark which documents in that EPN to open as she goes here. So go up above the ones that are unknown. The lowest ones on this chart, everybody, are ones that haven't yet selected dates. And I don't know if you're aware of that, but government agencies, especially federal agencies, will put proposals out on the street before they've put dates on them, just to get some feedback from the public. So on these ones that it says unknown on, it's very likely some of them won't have due dates for proposals for months into the future, maybe in some case years into the future. But this is the last of those, and these proposals are due 6/6, and then we move into ones that are due in the unknown time frame. So Sierra, describe for everybody how you did this and sort of how you broke these up and what you did and gave to Aaron and Emily and yourself to work on.
Yeah, so essentially we were just looking at the projects that were the furthest out in closing date. So we did find some that we thought were a good fit for us, that we would have enough time to get the work done that was required. So we just started from the bottom, and we each took 60 going up the list. And some of the things that we were looking for was what they were asking for, how much work we thought that it would take to prepare what they were asking for, looking if it was a request for proposal or a request for bid, and those kind of things. So we were looking for also projects that we thought it might be easier to partner up with other people. So for example, asbestos projects, there are somewhat of an abundance of those consulting firms. So that kind of gave us a leadway to say, okay, this might be a good proposal because we know we can partner up with somebody in that area.
And so, was I accurate? Did you each take about 20?
Yes, we did.
And about how much time did you work on your set of 20?
I would say it was about 2.5 hours.
So not long, everybody. I'm trying to show you that a lot can get done and it doesn't take a lot of work. Aaron, how about you? Did you have about 20, and did you work on them for about how long?
Yep, exactly the same, 2.5 hours.
Okay. So now, Mark, so Sierra, do you see in any of these that have these latest dates that are out here, are these ones that you looked at? Are you recognizing these?
Let's see, it's a little small on my end. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mark, slow down. You're scrolling too fast. It's hard for us to see these. Usually she probably focused on ones that gave something saying probable, which means that literally, as we added these, we thought it was probable. By the way, on this tool we have, Bitnet, we get 10 times this many projects, most of which aren't relevant, so we don't put them on this form. And that's work that ARIB does. So I mentioned our environmental staff of SEED, but I also have the staff of Mark and ARIB who are a little more broad. They work for a bunch of different entities, but they're virtual. So ARIB's in Pakistan, Mark's in Bangladesh, and they do a lot of analytical work, not so much environment. And neither one of them are environmental scientists. So Sierra, let's go. Give Mark directions of where to come up with your Google Doc that you created on the ones that you reviewed, and then we'll do the same thing for Aaron.
Okay, awesome. So Mark, I will just share that with you really quickly. That'll probably be the fastest way for you to be able to access it. So I'll pull that up. Okay, yeah, that'd be fine.
By the way, while you guys are doing that, Jeffrey Potent had to leave. Jeffrey was one of our amazing speakers earlier. Jeffrey's a professor at Cornell, or not Cornell, at Columbia. And he lives a little bit out of the city and does projects. And he said he had to leave, but he's very interested in any kind of project that involves sustainability and other areas that are like that. And Jeffrey, absolutely, there are going to be those kinds of projects.
All right, is everybody seeing my screen?
Yep, we got it.
Cool. So essentially what I just did was made some brief notes. For example, the first one here, you can see I removed that one from the sheet because the mandatory meeting deadline had already passed on that, so it wasn't going to be an option for the EPN team.
So let's stop there for a second, because again, this is education for everybody. Some of these projects, maybe half, have mandatory meetings that you have to go to. And they might be in wherever the project is at. Where was this one? I don't know what state this is in, but you have to go to the meeting. And a lot of times you don't even know about it soon enough to do that. So these projects just not ones that we could get right now. Keep going, Sarah.
Okay, so I'll do one that I would recommend a proposal on, which was going to be this one, the on-call environmental testing, inspection, and monitoring services. So I did put a note there, questions closed tomorrow. That one was not requiring a ton of work to get started. Didn't have a pre-bid meeting that was mandatory, and I thought that it would be really easy to kind of find partners in the area that would team up with us on this project.
So is the next step a good one to go to that sheet? You can show what you've done, a little bit of the info that you pulled and why you thought that was good.
Yeah, so for this, I was just looking at the Bitnet report. So what I was doing was pulling up the government sheet. And then I'll just navigate to this project. Maybe it will come up. Let's see. All right, so then what date my Bitnet report was, and then I'll just go there really quickly.
So Bitnet, this tool that we're using, we were able to get an incredibly discounted price to have it available for EPN. Bitnet is a internationally known 20-plus-year-old company. We're also able to get for every one of you as EPN members an incredible discount on getting exactly the same thing that you can be using in your business or you can use on projects you use for EPN. And it's $90 a year that we're going to be able to, because you're an EPN member, you'll be able to get. So here's Bitnet's site, and she's going into it now. You would be able to get this same capability if you decided and wanted to buy a membership through EPN for $90. We paid multiple thousands of dollars to get right where Sierra is taking you to right now. And there's the project. Isn't it right here up in the middle, the one where you got the yellow on it? Isn't that it?
Yeah, sorry, my settings are not docking up to the side. They keep popping up in the middle, so I can't see the screen right there.
So she's now pulling up the actual government documents. So this is what they send out to anybody. This is all you would get if you were a potential bidder. Notice this one's in Seattle, Washington.
So something that I noticed on this one, questions are already passed, but the pre-bid conference is optional, and that's already passed, so that's not a huge deal that that's missed, so I decided to still move on. So I just download the solicitation notice
And notice, everybody, that there's a lot of information here. They estimate it's a $2 million project. It is for the city of Seattle. They're the contractor. So tell us what you saw as you read through this, and why did you think it was one that'd be pretty easy for us to do a proposal for?
Yeah, let's look at it together. So I didn't think that this one required too much kind of writing to get started. It is a request for qualifications and proposals, but it's just looking for qualified professional environmental consulting teams, which I think is a great fit for EPN because it's really exactly what we're trying to do here is build these teams that are center focused around the exact qualifications needed for each individual project.
So it looks like there's another document. There's a clickable link down there for additional info about this project. Is that right?
So this is actually this one right here, Wayne. That's a WebEx meeting link.
No, they're up above. The one says interested consultants are encouraged to review the RFQ, other documents, and any addenda online at that procureware.com site. That one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about this. It says you must log in to register, so I wasn't able to figure out. Let me try again. We can make this work on my end. Yeah, see, I don't have a login to.
Yeah, this is telling. This is not just for this project. This is for all kinds of things. But we would have to ultimately do this. So this would be part of the work. The next step of the work would be getting this done so that we could then get officially registered with the city of Seattle. Not a lot of work, but a little bit. And you're going to get a password and so on. So let's go back to it, Sierra, back to the page where that one. And so it's not really requiring a proposal, right? It's really, it's wanting you to, we need to give our really qualifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Wayne, I would love to hear your feedback too and your opinions on how you think that we're gauging these, if this is one that you think would be a good fit or.
Well, again, this one scares me because it's due in 2 days. So that's a little bit of a challenge. It's not one of those that's out there very far. That'd be my first worry. other than that, it is something that we could do. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, Sarah, we could do it as seed. We
Right.
would probably not need other help. But the idea is there would normally be things that we probably couldn't just do as seed. So let's move on to the next project that you have.
Mhm.
See what, and just I want to show people several. I'm going to let Erin show a couple of hers too.
All right, we can check this one out.
All Sierra is doing now is just searching on her document that she prepared.
So
Why don't
422.
you blow up that project description? Oh, there it is. So we'll see it here.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up on Bitnet.
Okay.
So you guys can just see the process. I'll go to navigate to the sheet, find one, and then check the date that it was on the bid report, and then I'll navigate there, where it will take me so I can see all of the documents.
And as you can see, this one had a couple of amendments. It's due the 18th. That's out of ways. That's plenty of time typically to get something done. Why don't you do the regular document first, and then we'll go to the addendas.
Yeah, this
All
was
right,
a great one with a lot of information.
Okay.
I prefer to have more information like this one than the other one. So I'll just kind of go slowly through the pages here and see what we're looking for. So like you said, Wayne, the proposal due date's out far enough to where it would be able to do something before the deadline. And then this one didn't have a required meeting. Then this just goes on to tell about the general information for the project.
If I'm looking weird here, I'm staring down at the screen, looking at what's here, scrolling through. So this services, it shows it here, 3 things. Engineering surveys to review conditions of structures surrounding environments. These are structures in the city of Detroit, pretty old city with lots of kind of older buildings and probably lots to do. The second service is to provide surveys to document the presence of, isn't it interesting? Presence. I think they misspelled that word.
Yeah.
Hazardous and regulated materials. So, and then finally, the last piece would be once some of that stuff was cleaned up, to provide verifications that ensure that all materials have been removed. So these are buildings they're going to demolish. The city of Detroit's going to demolish. So these things have to be done on these buildings before. And I don't think they're probably, well, keep going. Do they identify the buildings, or do they just say, we're going to identify those later? We just want to have our consultant in hand that will do this.
Let's see. Don't recall on this one.
Oh, excuse me. Don't know why I'm yawning. I'm not tired. The addendum probably are going to be the answers to questions that people raised when we look at that.
So they modified this slightly. And it just goes on to do the intro again, and then here is
here's what's required.
Yeah, here's where I thought it would be a good fit for us.
So here's an example. SEED could not do this. This is why we would really need to have a team from EPN, because SEED doesn't have one Michigan Act 54 certified building inspector. Not hard to find. I mean, I could go out and just start making phone calls and I'd find that building inspector. I'd really rather that would be, I wish a year from now, we wouldn't have to find that person. We'd have a building inspector in Michigan that would want to be working on this project. Second, one professional engineer or a licensed architect. Again, I'm not a licensed architect or a licensed engineer, so we would need to find one of those. And it says either or. Not hard to find. There's going to be a lot of those out there. And we're going to want to pick some small ones, or hopefully they already be our members. Then finally, 2 state of Michigan accredited asbestos inspectors. Again, lots of those people out there. There's lists of them, be really easy to find. And again, probably some small companies that would love to do this. They probably aren't going to provide proposals for this project because they don't have these other things. They don't have the building inspector. They don't have a licensed architect. So that's why EPN would be great. This, all right, keep going, Sierra. You know, it says they have to have industry knowledge. We're already getting to that. Hopefully, obviously, that makes sense. By the way, we wouldn't need those other people to have industry knowledge. I guarantee I've done all the work they're talking about having done here on this project. You don't have to be a licensed engineer or architect to do asbestos abatement assessment or review after it's done. And here we go. Their respondents are encouraged to visit the properties. So there will be some in Exhibit F of what they are, which, you know, we could still do that before the 18th. Sierra just lives down the road. There's where Sierra, on our other project in the Detroit area, we decided to propose on this. We'd just probably go and visit these buildings before we went, or on the same trip that we were going up to work on the other project.
Yeah.
This project's probably, it's a 3-year project. That's awesome. Very long project.
Yeah, if we could link up with a firm in Michigan, I mean, this would be great. This is what it's all about. We just need to start building up the team here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go down to the exhibit
Yeah,
and
go down to where it shows the buildings, probably.
see the buildings that they're talking about. Maybe it was the attachment. Or no, those are the amendments.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been in, it said it was Appendix F. Look on this table of contents and see if you see. I don't see it there.
There was another table of contents also. No.
Wow, I don't see it. And again, that's not uncommon, by the way.
Yeah.
That happens a lot on these public projects where they think they put something in it and they didn't put it in. So let's go to the addenda. Maybe they realized it and that's why they added addenda. Aaron, get ready to talk about one project because that's about all the time we'll have. We're done here.
Okay, I've got it.
So I'm just going to go through and look on the side here and see if it looks like there's any images. And nope.
Doesn't look like they did it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, and that's not uncommon. Again, I don't mean to be negative about, but these are, here we go, exhibits, but yeah, Exhibit F, demolition candidates list, and I don't see that it has one. So.
Yeah. Apart from that, I thought they gave a lot of information about the project.
Yeah, all right. Why don't you go to the second, is that the first addenda? Maybe there's another.
This is the second one, this is the second.
Let's look at the first one. Maybe they figured it out quickly. This is all the information that any bidder would get on these, by the way. So see if you can find anything about the buildings here.
No.
And I'm not seeing anything about what the buildings are.
Yeah, not this one either.
Well, that's something we'd have to find as we did the proposal for it. All right, well, we've got about 13 minutes left. We're going to switch over and let Erin talk about one of the ones she found out of the 20 that she looked at. And Erin, could we give the screen to you, or do you want to just let Sierra tell Sierra what to do, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, if Sarah doesn't mind, she can just navigate to my folder in our shared folder, and there's a sheet there that she can click on.
All right, going there now.
By the way, everybody, ask any questions that you have or thoughts that you have on these projects. Or EPN in general.
All right, you tell me where to go, Erin.
Just that Google sheet you can click on, and you can scroll to row 8. And that is the project that, or no, yeah, it's row 8, but I don't know why it's saying California in the state, because it's Alaska. And if you want to open up the corresponding document for that, then that in my folder, in the yes folder. So I've took some notes on why I thought this would be a good project, because it is monitoring groundwater well installation of 6 wells, in soil and groundwater sampling, and some other things like underground storage tank investigation, pipeline investigation, contaminant tracking, etc. And the work needs to be completed in a year. So it sounds like a really interesting project to investigate a petroleum contamination, a leak.
It does. Sounds very cool.
So if you want to look at the document, what I look for, like Sierra said, are just like something that stands out. Like we missed a deadline, a mandatory pre-bid meeting, because that won't be on the closing date, and nothing like that stuck out to me.
Wow, this one's got pictures and everything. It looks like places that you'd be working on.
It even has like the plan for where they want the monitoring wells, the 6 ones to be installed.
Okay. Did it give a estimated budget? So the size of it?
Let me see if it's in my notes. I don't recall, but I wasn't reading it in great detail. I was looking for information like that, but it's possible I missed it.
Yeah, it's not, that wouldn't have been needed for you to look for. Look at this. Look at how good these pictures are. And then these are, so it shows the proposed wells where that X is, everybody. There's 4 of them there. I see, no, 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, those are the 6 wells. So there's where we'd be putting in wells. Now, this one, I'll tell you right now, unless it gives some specifics for team members that have to be a licensed engineer, for example, or something, SEED could do this without other EPN members. That's not what our goal is. We would like, this is not a project for one person, by the way. And so it's something, maybe a 4 to 7 person that I can see already. And by the way, it's for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And the Bureau, BIA is actually federal. So this is, even though the project's in Alaska, this is actually a federal project, isn't it?
It's correct. It's on a reservation, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be BIA on a reservation. Did you see in there, what does a proposer have to provide other than sort of qualifications? Has it got any kind of a written proposal needed for, like, what would be how would you do the work or anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't, let me see. Yeah, I didn't write anything down. There weren't any like forms that I saw. Some of these have like little forms you can fill out. It makes it really simple. I don't remember there being anything like that. So I just assumed it was probably a proposal or a quote.
Go back to that drawing, Sierra. This is way up in Alaska. You saw that. That's the Bering Sea. I think it's down a little lower, a couple pages here. There's a map showing the Bering Sea land connectivity potentially. There, that one. Look at Bering Land Bridge National Preserve. I mean, I bet this is almost up at the tip of Alaska, where Russia is just kind of off to the left here. So.
Yeah.
So, again, and probably because she looked at 20 projects in 2.5 hours, so she probably only spent 10, 15 minutes on this one. And yeah, we'd spend a lot more time, but I think we could get a proposal done for this in 10 hours worth of work probably. And I'm guessing that this is a multi-million-dollar plus kind of project. So keep scrolling, see, I want to see down near the bottom of this. So that's, anybody that has any questions or comments, please throw them in. We are looking at projects that could be potentially ones that EPN would do. And we've specifically looked at 2 of them now. Now this one, I'll give you, here's a little negative. I think they'd like to choose a firm that's Indian. If you were an Indian firm, you probably have a better chance of getting this proposal. You always want to be looking at that. This liability insurance requirement down here in red, easy. We've already got that. Yeah, and that looks like it's telling you how to submit invoices once you've been selected. This is just a bunch of federal language telling you how you're going to get, how they're going to select somebody. I don't feel like this one's wired. Remember I said that last week. It said you can look at some of these requests for bid or requests for proposal pretty quickly, say, you know what, this was written for some firm. We don't have a chance to get this because somebody else is, the entity, the agency wrote it just for this one particular firm, and they need to get multiple proposals, but they already know who they're gonna pick. This one doesn't feel that way.
On the last page, Sierra, it says it's really hard to miss. It's easy to miss, which is why I didn't see it before. But on the last page, I had like a description of what they want from you, I think is what this is.
All right, here we go. They're encouraged to submit the following. You complete block 17, it's on page 1. You complete a whole bunch of other blocks, so that's easy. Complete pages 24 to 48. I don't know what we'd have to go back and look at those. Submit a resume for the employee that will be assigned project management duties, that's easy. Submit a minimum of 3 references, easy, got those. Submit a summary of qualifications related to hydrocarbon soil contamination remedial experience. We just happen to have that on a project that we're working on right now. Summary of experience, if any, with tribes and tribals. Now that one we would struggle with. I actually have some from way back in my career, but that's been a long time ago. Not sure we'd get a lot of value from that. A list of subcontractors, I don't know yet whether we probably would. We certainly wouldn't drill wells ourselves. So we would find an Anchorage or an Alaska-based firm to do the drilling. That's an easy one. That's not hard to submit, to get that all done. And then at the very end, it says, evaluation commercial items applies, award shall be made to the responsible contractor submitting the lowest technically acceptable quote. So that means they're really going to look at numbers. So back there in those pages up near the top, we have to put some numbers in, what we're going to actually charge. And this looks like it had a lot of specifics about what the work is. This isn't real broad. So that's not hard to do. And they give themselves an out. They say if quotes cannot be determined to be reasonably priced, no award should be made. That's always a risk. Go ahead and put all this work in, and then they're not even gonna, they don't pick you or anybody. Well, this is good timing. We finished a couple minutes ahead of the bottom of the hour. I don't think we should go to any others. Why don't you go back to your list again, Sierra, and just show what were some of the others that you saw you thought were good ones for us to put proposals in for.
So these last three here, I thought
that one looks cool. West Cholla, this South Cholas and Paradise Canyon wetland mitigation.
Yeah, that one.
That's very ecological, by the way, for everybody. That asbestos abatement for another Indian, probably reservation, Cherokee agency, asbestos abatement. State site assessment and remediation program. That sounds kind of broad. That'd be interesting. What's that? What's the Quieter Home Program, Phase 2, Group 2? That sounds weird.
Want me to navigate to that one?
Quieter Home Program.
I can navigate there.
Yeah, I'll quickly look that up. We can just look at this.
Yeah.
So it's look at there. The magnitude of the work is in the range of $573,420.37. It's in the range of that. This sucker's wired. I will tell you right now, somebody has already submitted a proposal for $420.37. That is just stupid.
Well, this is good knowledge for me to know about that then, because if I would have known that, I would have probably had a different opinion on this one.
See, and this is not so much, so the bidder is not permitted to perform asbestos work unless it has a license. Looks like they're remodeling parts of of residences around San Diego International Airport. Yeah, the project includes 40 dwelling units located on 6 non-historic residential properties. See, this is actually more of a construction project because it says you're going to put windows in, a variety of things. Not something that we would absolutely ignore, but I'll tell you, when you see a number in the range of 573, 420, that sucker's been written for somebody. This is wired.
Okay.
And probably why I rated it as a 4 rather than something else. But there's a good example of how to learn from looking at these things.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are past the bottom of the hour. Any questions? I've got the Q&A open. I don't see any from anybody else. A bunch of you are still here. You got 30 seconds to put some in. If you let your fingers do some typing. Thank you for Aaron and Sierra. This was not something they were planning, so thanks for coming on and talking with our group here.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Excited for what's to come.
Yeah. We're just waiting just a little bit here, Mark, and see if we get any questions. If not, there's a bunch of you still out there in the audience, so thank you for being with us the whole time here. I hope you learned something. Somebody throw in a 1 if you learned something today. Other than Aaron and what did you say, Mark? I'm sorry. You're not. Get closer to your mic. Oh yeah. Tell them a little bit about our speaker tomorrow, Mark. He's in New Zealand, and we've already seen some videos of some of the things he's doing. It's really very cool.
Yeah, great work and very enthusiastic. I'm excited for that one as well.
Mark, am I going to be interviewing him, or is he going to do a presentation? Okay, be a combination. All right, cool. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, and it's late at night for some of you guys and early in the morning for others. I think we will call it for the day here. Thanks everybody for being here. We sure appreciate you. Talk to everybody again soon. Bye-bye.